Right now, House lawmakers are at home in their districts as members on both sides of the aisle look to pitch their constituents on the impacts of the president's sweeping agenda law ahead of next year's midterm elections. It all comes as Vice President J.D. Vance was in Ohio yesterday, taking direct aim at Democratic Congresswoman Amelia Sykes, who's running in one of the top House battleground districts for opposing the package.
Amelia Sykes is not here today. And you know why she's not here today? Because she's not celebrating no taxes on tips. She's not celebrating no taxes on overtime. She's not celebrating the highest rising take-home pay in 60 years because she fought us every step of the way on the big, beautiful bill.
And joining me now is Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Chris Deluzio. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us here on Meet the Press Now.
Hey, Gabe, thanks for having me on.
Now, Congressman, you just heard Vice President Vance there. He's out there selling this bill as tax cuts for working families. How are Democrats like you planning on combating that message?
Well, it's a load of crap. I'll just be clear about it. That bill is a fiscally reckless grift. It's saddling all of us with trillions of debt to take away health care from people to help pay for tax cuts for the richest, most powerful people and corporations in the history of the planet. That's what that bill is. And by the way, the little bit that they did in that bill to take away tax on tips has an expiration date and a limit. You know, it doesn't have an expiration date. Tax cuts for billionaires that they gave that we're all going to be paying for, and my kids and grandkids will be paying for. Well, so I won't take any lecture on fiscal responsibility from these guys.
I take your point, but without congressional action, taxes were set to go up on everyone. So what was the Democratic alternative to this bill?
A tax cut for working class, middle class people who need tax relief. And someone who makes $1 billion a year, well, you know what? They could pay a little more in taxes. And we would take aggressive action to bring down the debt. What the Republicans just did with full control in Washington, pretty simple. Again, they're taking away health care, food assistance, all to pay for these tax cuts and saddling us with debt in the process.
And speaking about health care, Congressman, yesterday the Vice President also said that the Medicaid changes in the bill were about preserving the program for those who really need it. What's your response to that?
Yeah, you should go talk to the folks at a senior center. I was here visiting in my district in Western Pennsylvania today, who are already planning for what it will mean to see what these Medicaid cuts affect their ability to deliver care, how the SNAP cuts will affect not just the folks who they care for, but the workers in this industry, which is tough. They're planning, and I've heard from nursing home operators, I've heard from hospital operators, they're planning for dark days ahead because of these cuts.
And Congressman, another big story that's been out there this month, and we talked about it earlier in the program, it's the saga surrounding government files on Jeffrey Epstein. Some of your colleagues, though, say it's not worth bringing up at all. Your state's senior senator, John Fetterman, just told NBC News that clearly it is a distraction. I'm much more concerned about more substantial things like cuts in Medicaid and now coming up in September, now not shutting the government down. I mean, there's so much more, I think, so much more impactful at this point for me. What's your take on that? Do you agree with Senator Fetterman?
I care about those things, and believe me, I'm spending a lot of time protecting my constituents' health care, dealing with spending bills. And I think it's important for the American people to know that Donald Trump betrayed them. He's clearly afraid of what's in these Epstein files. He has lied to not just his voters, but the American people. And I saw the clip on the program a few minutes ago. He's talking about how he knew that Jeffrey Epstein was stealing people from his club in Mar-a-Lago, young women, and he did what about it? Nothing. And it's weak, it's dangerous, and it's pretty scary to say this guy knew what Epstein was doing and told no one about it.
So you do want to release the files?
Release the files. Let's see what's in there. I'm not interested in protecting any predators, anyone who's abusing children, Democrat or Republican, I do not care.
Yeah, well, Congressman, you did tell Time Magazine earlier this year that you've got to be principally seen and spend your time worrying about jobs, people's paying health care, which you've been talking about here, as well as economic issues. I think folks see too many Democrats not caring principally about the economy, you told Time Magazine.
Yep.
If you want Democrats to focus on the economy, how does that include Jeffrey Epstein?
Because the corruption of Washington is exactly why powerful corporations and others have screwed over working people. And the corruption I see is about congressional stock trading. It's about Donald Trump and his family abusing office. It's about hiding and protecting the powerful, as Donald Trump and his congressional allies are trying to do to hide these Epstein files. We take that corruption fight head on. We take the economic fight head on.
Congressman, a Wall Street Journal poll out this week had the Democratic Party with its worst ever standing among registered voters. Just 1 in 3 had a favorable opinion on the party. How do you explain that?
Look, I think what I see in places like Pennsylvania is you got Democrats like me who can win, who are winning in tough districts. We know how to do it here. I think you look at the way we've won from Josh Shapiro to me and others like me across the country who are winning in these tough House races. We can do it. And we don't do it by shying from a fight, whether that's with Donald Trump or a monopolist or a powerful railroad, who, by the way, we're 2.5 years from East Palestine derailment with no action from Congress. We take on tough fights and we win them. That's how the Democratic Party gets back to winning elections.
You know, Congressman, I'm not a pollster, but since we're talking about the poll, how would you answer that poll question? Do you have a favorable feeling towards the Democratic Party right now?
I've got a favorable feeling toward Democratic Party in Pennsylvania. That goes right up through my governor, Josh Shapiro, who's going to win next year once he gets in. And look, again, I think we are doing things in Beaver County, Allegheny County, where I represent, where our local Democratic Party is showing up and fighting and winning elections. We need more of that in Washington and across the country.
So you have a favorable feeling to the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania, you just said, but not the national party, to be clear.
That's not what I said. I'm proud of the party that I'm a member of. And I will tell you that we are going to win the midterms next year and break this full Republican control in Washington. They have used that control once again to jack up the debt, to make all of us pay for these reckless tax giveaways. We need some real constraints on Donald Trump in Washington. And that's the case. We're going to be making American people for the next year and a half.
And Congressman, let me ask you a big picture question here. What legislative and policy priorities do Democrats have if you do take over in 2027? Do they go beyond restoring the pre-Trump status quo?
I'm not interested in restoring the status quo. I look at my part of the world in Western Pennsylvania. I look at places all over the country. People are mad. They feel like life is expensive, and we have to fix that. We have to restore the American dream. We got to make a booming economy that people are actually sharing in. So I'm not looking to go back to how things were. We got to make life better for people. We have to fight corruption wherever we see it. And again, I'm not interested in protecting anyone who's powerful, who's abusing people or ripping us off and killing small businesses. I can go on and on. So that's the fighting spirit I want to see from Democrats. That's the pitch we're going to take in the midterms next year. And Democrats are going to make clear that these rising costs, which I see the polling, I talk to my constituents, rising costs are crushing people. Well, guess what? Donald Trump and Republicans control every level of power and government in Washington. And they have done nothing to stop rising costs. We're going to pound them on it.
I'm curious about a little bit more about what you think about messaging, upcoming messaging for the Democratic Party. I want to put up something your state's governor, Josh Shapiro, said about New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani. He said, you have to speak and act with moral clarity. And when supporters of yours say things that are blatantly anti-Semitic, you can't leave room for that to sit there. Mamdani also seemed to run a campaign where he left open far too much space for extremists to either use his words or for him to not condemn words of extremists that said some blatantly anti-Semitic things. Do you agree?
Yeah, look, no one should be saying horribly anti-Semitic things. And guess what? Where I'm from in Western Pennsylvania, I can tell you, we didn't spend too much time worrying about the mayoral Democratic primary in New York City. We're worried about Donald Trump and Washington Republicans screwing over working people, jacking up the debt and hurting us. And I think that is the fight we're going to have next year in the midterms. And we are going to continue, I will be continuing to push my party to be laser focused on fighting this corruption and fighting that economic fight for people. It's how we win. It's what voters expect us to do in a moment where Donald Trump is failing to do anything to control rising costs.
Congressman Deluzio of Pennsylvania, we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.